First of all, breathe. I'm here, listening to you.
Have you ever had a day where you did everything right and still went to bed feeling like a failure? He woke up early, faced everything he needed to, responded patiently, was kind, smiled even though he didn't want to. He delivered every task, fulfilled every obligation. Everything was as ordered. But at the end of the day, what was left was a heavy silence, and that emptiness that whispers, "It wasn't enough." And breathe, because maybe no one sees it, but this kind of pain exists. She doesn't scream, she doesn't show up for exams, she doesn't ask for a certificate, but it lives there between the internal pressure and the expectations of others, between "I did my best" and "but why do I still feel so wrong?" It's the kind of pain that has no dramatic scene, but that is corroding from the inside, in silence, as if his entire existence was always on the test, as if each success had to come with more effort than it should, like you're always trying to make up for something even when there's nothing wrong with you. It's about that feeling of inadequacy that just won't go away, even when everything seems to be going well on the outside. It's about the struggle of those who demand the most of themselves, even when they deliver the impossible. Of those who don't know how to rest because they're afraid of seeming useless. Of someone who lives with the constant feeling that they are disappointing someone, even if that someone is just you. You might even hear compliments, but inside you, some voice still says, "It's not enough." And that gets tiring. It's more tiring than any task, more than any long journey, because it's a weight that no one helps carry. Maybe you don't even know how to explain it. Maybe you think there's something wrong with you for feeling this way. But let me tell you something calmly. What you feel has a name. And there are many people living this same conflict, trying to maintain the appearance of control, while my chest slowly collapses inside. Stay here. There is still something that your silence needs to hear. That's why this video matters. Because there are things that no one talks about, but that you feel. And feeling that doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. You are not alone in this internal struggle, in this constant effort to look good, even when everything weighs on you. This space exists to name what suffocates, to welcome what has been ignored, to remind you that you deserve rest, and not just demands. Leave your sign here. Like this video to show that this conversation needs to happen. Subscribe to the channel. That voice is still here whenever the world makes you doubt your worth. There is much more silence waiting to be heard, and more steps into yourself that still need to be taken. We continue. You wake up before the alarm clock rings. It's still dark outside, but inside your chest, there's already a slight, almost imperceptible anxiety that reminds you that the day has already begun, and with it, the demands you carry. Get up, take a deep breath, put on that invisible armor you learned to use so well, and go. Throughout the day, you do everything that was expected. Respond to emails carefully, meets deadlines, smile at those who cross your path, even if you are exhausted inside. You are organized, polite, think of everything, avoid conflicts. Fulfill even the promises that no one asked of you. And yet, when night falls, when the silence of the house finds you, you feel like you've failed at something. But in what? This is the hardest part. There is no real error. There is no clear reason. There is no explaining it. There's just this discomfort that slowly envelops you, this feeling that no matter how much you do, it's never enough. You try to rationalize. You think you're tired, that maybe you need to sleep, that tomorrow will be different. But deep down, you know it's not just physical, it's something deeper. It's the kind of emptiness that appears even after a productive day, even after compliments, even after congratulations. It's as if your own criterion of sufficiency is unattainable. You blame yourself before you even make a mistake. Analyze every attitude, every sentence said, every choice made 1,000 times. And even when everything goes right, you still find a way to question yourself. Could I have done more? Was I good enough? Did anyone notice I was forcing a smile? That voice inside you doesn't scream. She whispers, low, persistent. It follows you silently, like a shadow that seems harmless but weighs heavily. It makes you doubt the good things you did. It makes you forget what you gave with so much effort. And you try to ignore it. But it appears again when you lay your head on the pillow, or when you walk past the mirror, or when someone compliments you, and you smile, but inside you doubt. It's as if you no longer know how to accept recognition without guilt. As if the praise hit an invisible wall that you yourself built. Because somehow you've come to believe that you need to do more, be more, deliver more, always more. And little by little, this more turns into a hole. A place where your effort drips without ever seeming to fill. You're getting exhausted, but it continues. You're getting insecure, but disguises it. You feel more and more distant from yourself, but still smiles, still does everything right, still keeps trying to fill a void that may not even be yours, but that you carry as if it were. And this is where the invisible pain lives, because on the outside, everything looks fine. Those who see you from afar admire you, praises you for your responsibility, your strength, your dedication. But no one sees the battle that takes place inside. No one notices the effort it takes to get up every day with this silent pressure. No one realizes you're not trying to be perfect. You just want to feel like you're enough. And yet, you still feel like you're failing. This pain has no color. There is no sound. There is no warning. She only appears when the world falls silent. And in that silence, everything in you begins to ask, what am I doing wrong? But maybe you're not doing anything wrong. Maybe you just learned to demand so much of yourself. He was human. How tiring. That needs breaks. And that's when we begin to understand. It's not the world charging you all the time. It's your own voice, shaped by years of trying to prove yourself, trying to be accepted, trying to be good enough for everyone, but not yourself. You don't need permission to rest from this. But maybe you need a reminder, and he's coming. Stay here. There's still more your heart needs to hear. And perhaps until now, no one has told you in so many words what you feel has a name. This mixture of tiredness that doesn't go away. This feeling of inadequacy even after so much effort. This echo that whispers, you didn't do enough. It all has a name. It's emotional exhaustion. It's internal overload. It's a buildup of invisible pressures that you've learned to bear in silence. Until the silence starts to hurt too. And no, it's not laziness. It's not a whim. It's not a lack of gratitude. It's just that you've been living in an eternal race against a criterion that no one has defined. Only you. And the more you try to achieve this ideal, the further away you feel from yourself, as if he were always running and never arriving. You feel like everything you do still isn't enough, right? Even when you finish everything on the list, even when receiving compliments, even when everyone says you are incredible. Inside you, something still answers, but I don't feel that way. That feeling of failing, even when you're doing everything right, of being in debt, even when you handed over everything. It's like an internal crack that no one sees, but that changes the entire way you see. And I want to remind you of something now. With all the care in the world, this pain is also worthy of care. Even if it seems small, even if you think there is no real reason, even if the world tells you that you have everything to be fine. Because what hurts isn't just what's missing. It's the weight of having to keep everything running. It's the wear and tear of looking good all the time. It's the guilt of wanting to stop when everyone expects you to keep going. It's the fear of disappointing even when you haven't promised anything. You've become so good at meeting expectations that you may have forgotten what it's like to listen to yourself, what it's like to welcome yourself, what it's like to treat yourself with the same kindness you offer everyone else. And I know, sometimes you just want to disappear for a while, of not having to take care of anything, to put everything on hold, just to be able to exist without obligation. But the world doesn't offer these breaths, so we need to create them from within. That's why I bring you this voice, not to solve your pain, but to remind you that it is valid, that you are not alone for feeling what you feel. There are so many people experiencing this same knot in their chest without being able to name it, and sometimes all that's missing is this: a name for that guilt that appears when you rest, a name for this pain that no one recognizes because you are too strong, a name for this feeling of being invisible even though you're present in everything. You feel it, and that's enough. You may not be able to explain everything that lives inside there, but you don't need to justify your pain for it to be real. You don't have to be in pieces to deserve care. Sometimes it's just this silent tiredness, this heart that's too full of everything, that's already screaming for attention. And look, you don't need to do more to be seen. You don't have to be perfect to deserve a break. You don't have to over-deliver just to feel valued. Your value is not in how much you produce, not even how much you can handle. Your value lies in the simple fact of existing with everything you feel, with everything you don't yet know how to deal with. And maybe at this moment, all your heart is asking for is a break, a space where he can breathe without justifying himself. So, tell me here in the comments, truthfully, which part of this resonated the loudest within you. You can just write, "I feel it," and that will be a start, because when you put into words what tears you apart in silence, something starts to reorganize itself inside, and maybe someone will read it and realize they feel the same way, and just for that, you will have already done more than you imagine. Stay here. There is still a breath waiting, and I know it feels like this knot inside my chest will never loosen. It seems like this feeling of always being in a rush, always owing, always trying to justify yourself has become part of who you are. But listen to this carefully. You don't need to constantly prove that you deserve to exist. Life has taught you that only those who have already given everything deserve rest, that only those who are strong deserve affection, that only those who do not make mistakes are worthy of respect. But that's not true. These are weights that were placed on you, and that you, by carrying so much, ended up believing were yours. But you can let go of it, slowly, no guilt, because there is still time to breathe without feeling in debt. There is still time to look at yourself with a little more kindness. Understand that you are not a machine that does everything right. You are a human being, trying to cope in a world that demands so much and provides so little shelter. It's not about giving up. It's about resting. It's about putting down what isn't yours, what they said you needed to be, what they made you believe was your obligation to carry. There are days when everything feels heavy, even what you like, even what you do with love. And on those days, you have every right to take a break, not to abandon, but to remember yourself, remember your own rhythm, your body, your heart that is there inside, asking for a little calm, asking to be heard too. You may not have heard this before, but I'll say it now. Your delivery has value, even when it is not recognized, even when no one comments, even when what you did went unnoticed. What comes out of you when it comes out with truth is never in vain. Just because they didn't clap doesn't mean it didn't play. Just because they didn't say thank you doesn't mean it didn't make a difference. And you have value too, even when you're not delivering anything. Even when you're just there, quiet, tired, trying to understand what you feel. You don't need to justify yourself to exist. You don't need to achieve emotional goals to deserve peace. You don't have to be smiling all the time to be loved. There is beauty in those who feel. There is strength in those who continue, even with a heart full of doubts. There is love, yes, in your silence. Maybe what's missing now isn't doing something new, but allow what has already been done to also be celebrated, or at least welcomed by you. Because sometimes the pain comes not from the lack of achievements, but from the lack of pause, from the lack of internal recognition, from the absence of a hug that starts with you and says, "That was enough." And yes, it may seem strange at first. You were trained to never stop, never let go, never let go. But now, just for a few minutes, let everything be still. Let your body settle into space. Let your thinking slow down. Let your heart understand that it is not alone, that he can be embraced even without performing, because this is the beginning of a new beginning, not the one that starts with big decisions, but what is born from a simple breath, from a moment of silence where finally you listen to yourself. And if everything is still confusing, that's okay. You don't need to understand everything now. You don't have to change everything now. You just need to be here, present, open, breathing, feeling, one step at a time. No charge, no urgency. Truly. And so, little by little, everything that seemed too heavy begins to find its place. Everything that was hurting in silence begins to show itself, and everything you are, even the parts that are still hidden, begins to be seen. And we go on like this, a little lighter, even if it's just inside, even if it still hurts a little, because now at least you know you are not alone. And what you feel matters. So now, just breathe, with lightness, with presence, with that affection that perhaps no one has taught you to give to yourself. Today, you did what you could, and that is worthy. Today, even with everything getting tough, you stayed standing, and that's strength. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you kept going. Right here in the comments, I did my best. Let this phrase echo in other silences. Maybe someone will read it and feel like they can stop blaming themselves so much too. And whenever the day weighs on you, when the world makes you doubt your worth, come back here. That voice will still be whispering to you. This page does not close. This corner awaits you. This space is made for those who feel too much. And keep it all in silence. If this message touched you in any way, come walk along. Turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel. There are more reflections like this waiting for you here, always with truth, with pause, with shelter. In the next video, we'll talk about that strange feeling of being surrounded by people and still feeling alone. There's a new welcome waiting for you. I'll meet you there.